This is Art Is, a podcast for artists, where we talk about all things top of mind for emerging artists. I'm Isotta, and I'm an artist. I make sculpture, and I'm currently really interested in exploring how making sculpture with marble, a truly ancient material, can get us as humans in touch with deep geologic time. I'll be sharing more about my practice throughout this season, which is a new thing for me, because I started this podcast back in 2021 as a recent art school grad, grappling with starting my professional practice in the pandemic and feeling very lost and alone. Working on this pod helped me expand my horizons creatively and intellectually. So here we are, 3 years later, still making the show, but now with an amazing co-host.
And I'm Lauryn. I'm an artist and a career coach for creatives. I help artists and creatives master their mindset, align with their purpose, and make money doing work they love. Lately, I've been working on my acrylic and gouache cake paintings, and most interested in learning more about the intersection of emotional well-being and spirituality, especially as it relates to life as an artist.
Okay, well, hey, Lauryn, and hey, everybody. Welcome back to Art Is, a podcast for artists. Delighted to be joined with my wonderful co-host again today for a little solo episode, catch up on what's been going on for us in our work, in our creative practices, and what we've been working on and thinking on. So, Lauryn, how's it going? What's up with you?
Hello, everyone. Things are going great. I have transitioned out of working for TASCHEN, the publishing company who I worked for over 8 years, which is pretty crazy. And so with that, I have a lot more free time right now. And I was working 3 jobs. So I was working at TASCHEN, the bookstore in Beverly Hills. I also teach art classes and coach for a nonprofit called the Vic James Center, where I go into rehabs and sober livings. And I was teaching classes at a homeless shelter, a youth homeless shelter in Venice. And then I have my coaching business. So taking one of those jobs off of my schedule has really freed up some time, and it's been so amazing. And having a part-time job is really helpful. It was really helpful for me, for my nervous system, because I always had, I went from going to art school straight into having a 9 to 5. And so I was used to that regular income coming in every month. And then when I quit my corporate job to start my business, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, unregular income? It's so foreign to me. So that's why I got a part-time job. And I think it's important to everyone has their own journey. And what I've noticed too with clients is sometimes, people have businesses for a long time and then they want to go back to corporate, or they want to find another kind of income, or they're going through a very challenging time in their life, emotionally, personally, and they just want a simple job, right? Like something they can show up to regularly, to interact with other people, and like a yoga studio or something, and I think just taking off all the judgment from that, and being able to be free flowing in how you show up in the world and how you make money and how you interact with your day to day is really, it's freeing. So, but I'm very grateful that I'm in this new stage. And with that, I've also been hosting a lot more get-togethers. I started this thing called Make Art in the Park. And so twice a month on Sunday, I posted in a Facebook group, anyone who wants to come, and then just invite people, whoever wants to make art in the park. And so I get to meet new people and in my neighborhood. And I'm really craving more in-person meeting people, connecting with people, like in person rather than just like being on social media all the time. Like it's just I'm not what I want anymore. And so yeah, so that's kind of what's new with me and how I'm feeling right now and in this new transition stage. How have you been? What's going on with you?
Well, thanks for sharing with us. And also, on the topic of like, jobs and income and creative, ways of generating income and like all the different jobs we have as artists and creative people and stuff, I just wanted to flag a resource for those who might be interested, which is another podcast. A friend of ours, Beyond the Studio, they just released a really interesting episode on finances that they do yearly, where they really break down their own kind of like personal approaches to generating income as artists and as creatives. And I have always really enjoyed those episodes. So if you're looking for, some different examples of how people run their businesses as artists, I highly recommend that. And I'll put that in the resources for this episode so you can check that out.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because when I was just getting ready, I was thinking about a resource that I have too. So I can put it in the show notes. It's actually, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but it's an Excel document for people who run a business. And it's a way to track the money coming in each month and kind of estimate each month going forward and break down like what percentage is going to taxes, what percentage is going to my expenses, and then there's a couple other sheets on there too. Like if you want, I have my CRM, like my customer base with all their information on it as well. And so that might be, I mean, I think a great resource for our audience and for even you, for people who maybe want to start a business or have a business and just don't have that set up yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for those, working in America or, running their business out of the US, like with tax season, that's such a helpful thing. I personally am, doing my own accounting right now, which has been challenging and a learning curve for sure. So thanks for noting that. I'll definitely check out that Excel spreadsheet because I'm not great at that. But anyway, I also wanted to mention that right now you asked how I was doing, and in case anyone's hearing in the background some loud noises, I'm based in Valencia still, and right now we have this incredible festival going on called Fallas, which is basically a almost month-long multi-week festival that's like really traditional of this city where there's fireworks all day every day. And at 2 p.m., there's like a super fireworks show where basically in the main town hall square, they set off like 1,000 fireworks and you hear this rumbling roar. It's disconcerting, if not also incredible. But yeah, so that's part of it, the fireworks. And then the other side are these enormous effigies and statues that are built by these local artisans, and they depict all sorts of things. A lot of them are like pseudo cartoon characters. Some of them are more like traditional or more like religious figures. And all of these are displayed all around the city for a few days, while people like parade around them and dance and celebrate. And there's churro stands everywhere. And then on Tuesday, the 19th this year, they're burning all of these statues in this giant ceremonial burning ritual, which is my first time that I'm going to be going to that this year. So I'm really excited. I've always been away for work while this festival has been going on. So um, it's kind of like a local tradition that I'm excited about participating in, and also like, really up my alley from the sculpture perspective as well. So I'm fully immersed in that right now.
Do you know where it came from or like what the origins of it is?
I should know, but I don't. I can. I can talk about my experience after the fact, and I'll be sure
Yeah.
to ask. Maybe I'll ask someone at my studio where I work, which is has a lot of Valencian local uh, people working there, and it's actually run by a husband and wife team who are just incredible, and they're both Valencian, and they were talking to me about it today as well. So I'll ask them and get back to you on that.
Yeah, we'll make sure next episode we'll check in on that again and hear the story behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I'm doing well. I'm working hard in the studio right now on lots of different sculptures, which I'm really excited about, and I feel like I'm making quite a bit of progress in both the development, like the physical side of the work, the the skill acquisition, and like developing and finding my own kind of like voice in marble, which has been a real journey of experimentation and a lot of fails, but I feel like I am starting to kind of grasp the complexity of the material more and start creating like a more cohesive body of work. And at the same time, I'm also really excited about documenting this progression and sharing that in a newsletter that I started late last year. And thanks to your support, I've been pretty consistent on there and writing both shorter and longer form reflections on what the work is about and what has influenced it, and also just really diving into the research practice that's really central to my art practice right now, and expanding on like central themes that are relevant, and also discussing the work of other artists that I find to be incredibly influential. So that's been really great to kind of be more consistent on and feel like I'm, documenting that progression in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, the research part of it too. I think as I've had more time, some free time too, I've been like diving into other things that I'm curious about and that inspire my art. Um, and research can take many forms. I feel like research going out into the world, right? I went to the Corey Helford Gallery here in Los Angeles, which is my favorite gallery. Um, they do pop surrealism, and they did a collaboration with Care Bears. And so it was all of these incredible inspired by Care Bears. So it's like tons of different artists did one piece inspired by Care Bears. And I just, it was, I was like blown away. And then not only that, they had a whole room full of the original illustrations for Care Bears. This one artist, I can't remember her name, but she's in her 80s, and they're all these original watercolor paintings, and it was like one piece after the next. I was just like, "Oh, this one's better. Oh my God, this one." Like I was just so blown away. And then they also had a pop-up shop with like a 10-foot Care Bear that was like furry, and like this whole wooden set that was made that looked like a forest and a castle. And it was just like, oh, this is like, that's research, but also it's just like inspiration at the greatest. And then I've had more time to like go into some of my TASCHEN books, like actually dig into them a little bit more, especially this new one, which I have right here. It's the 12 steps, which, I'm in recovery, 12 steps. And so it's symbols, myths, and archetypes of recovery. So it's artwork and symbols. It's like the symbolism of the 12 steps and addiction. And it's so fascinating. And it's like inspiring some of my own personal artwork too, just in thinking about like symbolism and communicating through symbols and communicating with our inner world. Like, I truly believe that, going out into the world, or sorry, going into our inner world is just as important as like going out into the world, because there's so much guidance, right, from our highest self, from our intuition, and that vision, that inner like third eye, right? Like that is so, like, when that's what creates alignment, like listening to the whispers and spending time with that. And so it's interesting how like symbolism of things in our outer world and things in our inner world, and we can communicate through symbols, right? And like words can only convey so much. And so that's why I think I love art so much. Like, I've always felt like images have been an easier way for me to communicate. I've had to learn how to communicate through words a lot more because it felt foreign to me. Like, images have always felt more easy or something. But yeah, I loved that. Just like the reminder of research, like how fun research can be, because it opens up, it unlocks these like curiosities about what's going on within and without, like outside of us as well.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, it's interesting to hear your observations on like, your own research that you're doing now and I guess also seeing how much more space you have for that now since your time has become more free and how important it is to like give ourselves time for this, inner knowledge to develop because it's so easy just to be so busy all the time that then like you're not capable of developing anything creatively. Like I've really, I'm really trying to implement like more intentionality in like my day, even in just going to the studio. Um, like even like for the first few months that I was in my new space, I really wanted to be consistent and show up and like do as much work as I possibly could. And so I would like go in the morning and stay till the night and I'd just be working all the time. And of course, like marble carving is incredibly time intensive. So it does take a lot of time to make progress. But I would even come back after the day and like be frustrated by not having made enough progress or like not having the piece that I was working on to be in like the state that I wanted it to be. And it's only like with slowing down and actually preparing for the work and like journaling and like sketching and like just being more centered with what I'm doing that I'm actually able to make progress in such a smaller amount of time as well. Like the other day I was in the studio just for maybe 2.5 hours or something, and uh this sculpture that I was just starting like really took shape, and I now like feel really confident with the path that it's going on and like where it's gonna end up because of that like intentionality. And I guess I'm like just happy for you that you get to have more time now to pursue and research and to like be intentional because it's so important.
Yeah. Well, a few things that I've realized lately too is that I think I was going after this idea of like my professional presence being this person on a pedestal. Like we compare ourselves to the people who we want to be like, people up on this like high level. Like I have this coach who's doing like $40 million. She's done $40 million in her business. And I'm like, oh, well, how do I get there? And I'm like, oh, well, you have this image and I have to be this presence online and I have to, you know, be this person, but I'm not there yet. And so part of me, I've been like pushing to do all these things and get all these things done that aren't quite in alignment for me yet. Whereas I have, like you were saying, like slowing down and just listen, like understanding, okay, what is the next step right now? and like what do I have within myself right now, which is like connecting to the community around me, connecting with the people I already know. Like that's what I'm craving, is like that connection. And you know, I can go after and try to sell people on my coaching who I don't know from like an online presence or whatever, some like image. And it's going to take so many steps for them to like know, like, and trust me. Or I can go out into the world and meet people one on one and just be a loving presence, be an authentic person. And something I heard recently is to be an interesting person, you have to be interested. You have to be interested in other people. And so it's like this consumer culture where it's just like, oh, like everything that I need. Like I want, I need, I want, I need. And it's like, well, what if, how do you give value? How do you show up? How do you give? And how, like, being interested in giving, like authentically, genuinely being interested in someone else and what they need, and like how you can connect on an emotional level like that. And I've like been slowing down that process too, of being like, okay, what if I were just show up more authentically, be more interested in other people rather than what I need, what I want. And it's so crazy how magic it is. Like these magical experiences just pop up and I'm like, all right, yep, this is it. Like it's so much easier than I've been trying to make it. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was just reading a like an excerpt from Octavia Butler's journal, the sci-fi writer. Um, Sci-fi has become a new escape for me, strangely enough. I just finished reading Dune and right before the movie, so I was able to finish the book before the movie. But I've started, yeah, like reaching into the realm of sci-fi for like new inspiration and also for escape. Um, and I am a huge fan of Octavia Butler and her books, and I saw a journal excerpt from her, and she was just writing out her goals with such like fervor and energy and such dedication. And her goal was just to be on the best-selling list always. And her her mantra that she would repeat in her journal was, so be it, see to it. And I've just been like saying that to myself these past few days, and it's had quite an impact. So be it, see to it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because it just represents like, oh, there's something bigger than me at play here. And what if I just like let it all go and get to it? Like, just what's the next step? Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of letting go, I'm excited. I'm starting to work on a new collaboration with a friend of mine who's a brilliant photographer, and we're planning to work on a series of limited edition prints of incorporating my sculpture and using her like antique large format camera to do these prints together. And I'm hoping to do that the end of March, early April in London at her studio. And we have just been brainstorming and looking at inspiration. And there was like an image that came to mind of a Richard Deacon sculpture that is a marble kind of organic, like curly, like almost like ram horn, like semi-classical form sitting on top of this like pink leather petal like form thing. Anyway, I've had this image in my mind for years, and I guess I also have a very visual brain, and certain images come to me. But I've been thinking about that a lot, and I've been thinking about when I first saw that image in a book when I was at art school in Edinburgh back in it must have been like 2018. And at the time I was like really interested in improving my skills and my craft knowledge, and I was learning how to steam bend wood, which was like a really kind of antique technique used mostly in like furniture building and furniture repair and stuff. And I built my own like steaming box and was like bending pieces of oak that I bought offline, and just like doing some strange experimental work that was quite nonsensical but like quite playful as well. And I I was really inspired by Richard Deacon and his steam bending work. And I remember when I was sharing it with a tutor who, was like a professor who I would have a critique with one on one. I received like incredibly negative feedback from my work, and I was told by her that I just was not doing well, and that I was like really bad at time management, and that I was like destined to fail pretty much. And it really like took me by surprise, that comment, because I didn't feel that way. And also she had like followed up with like an email to me directly about it that like really put into words how concerned she was for me. And I was really shocked because I didn't feel at all like I was behind, and I was getting like, good grades, and I had no indication for like her concern. And I guess I like really internalized that like lack of trust in my ability, or like her own, I don't know what it was, but like it really crushed me at the time. And it like I don't think I really ever like recovered from that until now. And it took like seeing this image that was like hugely inspirational to me, to like jog that kind of memory and that kind of like negative um, ideation of my self-worth and like my practice. And like I've been unpacking that memory this week, and like recognizing like how rooted it was in my psyche, and like my also, I guess, like wavering wavering of like deciding to pursue art, post graduation during COVID, when it was like seemed like pursuing art was like the silliest idea, and that like there would be no security, and no guaranteed income and no guarantee of anything. And I guess I just like have started to like realize that I'm in control of my own life, and I can make the work that I want to make. And, people might have different ideas about it, but, like, so be it, see to it. Like, I don't need to hold on to these like old judgments. And also, maybe that person was like dealing with something and like projecting onto me, or like, maybe had a bad moment. And like, I guess I just like was really, critical of myself, and like just didn't believe that I had what it takes. And I feel a lot lighter now after being able to like recognize that that was holding me back. And yeah, it's definitely like very scary for me to share that on here, because I normally have not ever like shared that like personal experiences. But I guess it's just like realizing, how important it is to contextualize feedback, especially negative feedback. And also like if you're in a position of like power, to really like be mindful of what you say, because your words have weight. And especially as artists, like our work is so personal, and
it can be so easy to like crush just like a small seed that's beginning to grow, and not realize like the impact that you're having on somebody else and on their own like self-image and the decisions that they make. And I've been incredibly lucky that I've had lots of people support me and give me positive feedback. But yeah, I guess it's been a interesting past few days and weeks, like having that come up and deal with that like old memory.
Yeah. And how fascinating too, like this conversation about symbolism and images, and like our psyche and like how that image, that moment in time, and then how it's like coming up again, but like, and now you're processing through some things that happened at that time. So fascinating. And with a lot of my clients too, I've noticed similar situations. Like they've told me stories about a moment in time where a teacher, fortunately, like, or an authority figure was like, oh, you're doing this wrong. Like, this is wrong. And, you know, everyone has everyone is so unique and has their own journey. And I think with like time and time management and um even, some people are morning people and some people are night people and some are very slow, the kapha energy and like Ayurveda or the pitta. Like there's these deep different body types and energy types. And we all go about things so differently. And so I think it's important to, again, like go inward and be like, okay, well, what feels most supportive for me? Like, yes, this is one way that someone is doing it, but it's also like we get feedback from the world too. Like I I get stomach issues, I get headaches, I get my back starts hurting too. It's like that's the feedback that it's like, nope, not working. Something needs to shift. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that too, because I do feel like a lot of people have experienced similar situations from authority figures and like, it's crushing. It is crushing. And that's why I truly believe like just in the power of believing in someone's idea and being like, yeah, it is possible. Like you can make it happen. Yeah, your way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so, it's also so nice to hear about how like you're really, interested and motivated again to like have one-on-one connections with people and, kind of bringing that like real life IRL uh, social quality back into your like professional orbit, whether that's like with teaching and coaching and networking. And I guess I've always kind of seen like this podcast as a way to do that as well. Even though like thousands of people are listening to this podcast, which is like crazy, but the idea that, with just one conversation, there can be like so much growth that comes out of that. And yeah, I think it's so important to like return to that like one-on-one connection as well sometimes and recognize like the power that that can have and stimulate for new ideas and new opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was listening to Macklemore, his album. He's sober too. He's been sober a long time. He actually, I think he wrote his standout album like after he experienced a rock bottom and he was like living in his mom's basement or something, getting sober. And a line from one of his songs was connection to our spirit over public image. And it really, like, that, I feel like, just is everything. It's like connection to our spirit, because it represents like going out and doing scary things too, and like wondering, oh, well, what are people going to think of me? Right. But like when you have that connection to your spirit, to your inner self, to your highest self, to, that bigger thing that we might not understand, that is also at play. When you have connection to that, it's like you can just let go. And what was the quote that you said?
Oh, so be it, see to it.
So be it, see to it. Yep.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and listening to this episode. Lauryn and I are so excited about this new season, where we're really just bringing you frank conversations of just things that are top of mind to us and to interesting guests and friends. So thank you for being here, and we're excited about sharing.
Yeah. And enjoy the rest of your festival too. That's going to be
Thank
so
you.
fun. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for being here. When you have a moment, please leave us a rating or review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And email us at listen@artistpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. Our music is by Black Wonder Twins. And now, a final message from Lauryn.
Hey, it's your creative career coach, Lauryn Hill. If you're ready to find more fulfillment and purpose in your life and make money doing work you love, I want to invite you to sign up for a free coaching consultation. In this 60-minute assessment, we'll talk about where you're currently at in your career and creative life. We'll get clear on where you want to go and what your vision is, and then we'll figure out what's getting in the way of you making it happen. After this intake process, I'll share with you solutions, what it would look like for us to work together, and how one-on-one coaching can help you create the results that you desire, but you have been struggling to create on your own. And if you feel like you're not quite clear on your goals yet, or don't really understand what coaching is, that's okay. Don't let it stop you from signing up for a consultation. I guarantee that you'll leave the consultation with more clarity on your goals and a better understanding of the profound impact that coaching can have on the rest of your life and career. So head over to curatedSplash.com/start-now. That's curatedSplash.com/start-now. And click the free strategy consultation button to sign up now. Hope to hear from you soon.